But no, I remember like my dad would always crack jokes and he'd be like, here, let me go grab the telephone books. And I would literally have to stack 2 of them just so that I could like see over the drivers.
That's so funny. I mean, American cars, they made them big, man. Like back then, at least, they were huge. I had a Chrysler.
Well, the thing is, yeah, I used to like literally my dad hated me because I used to get in so many, like I would just scrape up the car. Like I couldn't parallel park, all these things. It's because I couldn't see, like I'm literally like this, right? And so it's like now that I drive a 4Runner and I'm like, oh, no freaking wonder. Cause I actually remember in Austin, maybe a few months ago or something, we like got a rental car and I was back to like driving a little like tiny, 4-wheel drive thing. And I was like, bro, I'm going to like bust up this freaking like, I can't even remember the name of the like rental company, Turo, the one where you just rent. Like I literally was like driving like a little grandma because I was like, I can't see, I can't park this thing. And like, I'm like an immaculate parker. Like, again, I only back in my 4Runner. And like couldn't parallel park, like was really scared I was gonna scrape up stuff. And I was like, okay, I wasn't actually that bad of a driver. I'm still not a great driver, ADHD, whatever, but like I wasn't that bad. What other cars did you have growing up?
I had a 94 Nissan Altima that had bubble tint. Like, you know, like you know how the tent starts failing and it's all bubbly in the back. That was my first car. That car cost, I still remember to this day how much it cost. It cost $2,000. My mom bought it and she was like, wrote the check to this dude and she was like, my hands are shaking. And I'm like, it was a lot of money for us back then. We didn't grow up with that much money. So it was a lot of money. But yeah, and then I got into a car accident. So somebody backed into me and then it was total because it was a POS. Bitches. Yeah. So yeah. But
it's crazy though, because if you look at like beater cars these days, like literally you like even like $10,000 doesn't buy you shit. Yeah. It's so wild because same thing. It was like I had the 1996 Grand Prix. Then I had a 2002 Saturn Coupe.
Oh, it was blue. Saturn.
It was. Oh my God. It was Sonic the Hedgehog car, blue. Dude, and I thought it was such a baddie with that car. It's like, literally, I like saved up my money. I like worked a ton. I forget, again, how old I would have been at that point, but I like hustled really hard at work so I could get custom plates. So my car said, oh no's. And quite literally the number of times that I like got in an accident, like stupid stuff where I'd be like, I'm sitting in standstill traffic. I like lean to get coffee and then you like let your foot off the freaking brake and like just like bump somebody. And then it's like, oh, like big insurance thing. Ironically, so that car actually got totaled by an F-150, like literally just like T-boned me. So that car died. And then what did I have? I had the black Mazda CX-5, which I think I had when I met you. Yep. And then obviously I was like, okay, like bad bitch energy. It's my big car. But what year, because you bought your Subaru Forester, was that 2018?
It was 19. It was right before I moved to Austin.
Okay. Yeah. What did you have before that guy?
I was driving around my dad's old Ford Explorer, 98 Ford Explorer. He gave it to me. So I didn't have a car, and
they see me rolling.
Yeah, I love that. I love that truck, man. That truck was. They don't make them like they used to because that was a V8, and now they put all the weak ass V6 in there to save the environment.
Meanwhile, because Charlie and I have been driving back and forth so much to Newport, which is 90-minute drive. We both got our cars tuned. It was like $500 a piece, but basically now we get better gas mileage than we were previously. Like it's definitely not like whatever they're doing under the hood. You're probably not supposed to do it. But my 4Runner was already loud, and now I'm like extra obnoxious. I'm like, this is very on brand. Speaking, what video games are you playing these days? Anything
I've been playing this game called Mount and Blade Bannerlord. It's basically like an RPG simulator. You go around like hacking and slashing people. I mean, that's takes.
So my question: did you play the Diablo? Is it Diablo 5 or
4.
Diablo 4?
It's gonna be 4.
I don't even know. Okay. Did you get to play
The beta? No.
Yeah.
Nah, I didn't get to play it.
That was literally right in the middle of like surgery stuff. And one of my friends, actually, it was my like roommate from college, was texting me, and I was like, because I think, well, it's at the end of May that it actually drops, right?
June
So
1st,
I mean, the podcast might
comes out on my birthday.
The podcast's gonna go away. Everybody be like, where'd LCK and Alex go? We playing Diablo. Catch us. We'll have to drop our handles. I know there are people in my DMs that are like, dude, yes, we vibe. We play the same. So we need to like attract
what we talk about
well, today yeah, I was gonna say today we are basically gonna do an episode about things that we wish we knew sooner in regards to training, fitness, the gym, working out. It's one of those things that's like, obviously, both of us have been around and we're dinosaurs. We've been doing this a hot minute. And there's so many things that you just look back and you're like, God, I would do things so much differently, or like, oh, I wish I knew this sooner. So that's going to be kind of the focus of the episode today. And then we want to do one about nutrition. And then we were actually even tossing around the idea of doing one about like business stuff as well. We haven't really done any episodes about like running your own nutrition business or running, like a fitness platform or something like that. So I think like even a business one could be super dope as well. Cause again, it's just like, woo, dark days, man. It's been tough out there, right?
Still figuring shit out.
Really still know nothing, still figuring it out. So I'm actually gonna let Alex start on this one. We basically just kind of like quickly brainstormed some little ideas that came to mind, and we'll kind of like riff on them for a few minutes.
Yeah.
But some of these are really good, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm looking at this list. I'm wondering which one to tackle first. But man, I really feel like we could talk about like the program hopping. Like, I see it a lot still. Even in Paragon, I see it a lot too. Like people are like, people get the shiny object syndrome. Like they see like, ooh, like there's gonna be this movement in this cycle this time. I'm gonna go over to this program and do that one when they've been doing, just fine on the program that they've been on. And I mean, yeah, what our cycles go every 6 weeks or so. So
yeah, so they're usually a total of like 12 weeks, or sometimes even 18 weeks. But it's like people will be like halfway through, it'll be like 3 to 4 weeks, and I'll be like, person keeps posting a video. Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing wrong, I think, with switching a program if you need to change it because of like life, or maybe there's something, a goal that you have changed. But also too, if you're constantly changing goals or constantly changing your programming, you never give yourself a chance to see what you can, progress to. And yeah, I mean, you're kind of restarting every single time you do it. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So if you caught me like circa 2014 to circa 2016, I was the queen of hopping like specifically CrossFit programs. So it was like there were, kind of we'll say like 3 to 4 out there. It was like everybody would follow Invictus programming for like 30, 60 days. And then you'd be like, wow, I feel shitty and beat down, or I just like, I'm not seeing the progress I think I should be seeing. So then it would be like, I'm going to hop to Misfits. Oh, and same thing. It'd be like, couple months goes by and you'd be like, oh, I'm going to hop to Comp Train. And the thing is like, you're not seeing progress and you're not seeing the results you're trying to get because that shit takes time, right? Like there's a reason why training cycles are, hey, these are 12 weeks, 15 weeks, 16 weeks long. It's like, you don't quickly gain muscle. We can't quickly gain strength. And there's no cheat code in terms of, like if everything's really dialed in on nutrition, fitness, yes, you're going to go from A to B faster than somebody, playing fuck around and find out. But yeah, it's like every single month I'd be like, oh, this isn't working. And it is. It's that the grass is always greener on the other side is kind of,
like
and you do, it's like
fitness.
you join some, no, quite literally though, because it's like, you're like, oh, this is new, this is awesome. There's different movements. This is so fun. And then it compounds over time. And then you're like, this is a bad hookup. I need to go. Like I need to ghost. Truly, like that is a thing. And I think what's most fascinating about fitness too, and this is what I think about all the time, is it's like, there is a reason why I chose Brian to be the programmer and the programming expert for Paragon is 25 years. Like, dude is yoked, dude knows his stuff, and dude knows his science and his research and evidence-based stuff, right? And it's like all these people out there will grow a social media following. And it's like whatever it is they're talented in, maybe they're like, oh, well, I'm a nutrition coach by trade, so I should also offer training. Like, that totally makes sense that you would have everything in-house. But you see these random ass people writing programming and being like, oh yeah, we're now offering training. And it's like, but like, what's your background? Like, how are you writing these programs? Because again, I've been doing this 15 plus years. And if you were like, oh, Brian gets hit by a bus, he's out, I still would not know how to write good programming that's going to get people results. It's like, I could fake it until I make it based off of like programming I've seen, right? That we've done and we've followed. But it's like, I don't have that nerdiness and education background to the extent that he does. And so I find it so fascinating that people just be like, oh, I work out, I train, I can write programming. Like, that is terrifying to me. Because like I said, it's like I've been on the receiving end of when you're following programming that actually isn't good programming, and you're following programming that doesn't prioritize recovery and it doesn't prioritize rest days. It's just not good. Like, maybe you're lifting at like, the wrong RPs and all that stuff.
Or constantly changing all the time. Like, right? Like doing all sorts of different variations of movements just to make it interesting. Like, what do you say? Because one of the biggest things I hear is like people say, "Oh, I'm just getting bored." Like getting bored doing the same movements, and I hear that and I get it because I was the same way. I was like, man, I'm getting bored doing this. But like literally, what really made things happen was sitting here doing the same shit, the same movements for 10 damn years. Like still squatting, still doing the same movements for this many years.
I'm like sweating a little at my response. And if you've seen me behind the camera right now, I'm like, whoo. My answer truly, and again, this may or may not apply to you, but if you are offended by this, then like, let's take some time to also marinate and ask if this is true for us. If you are seeking novelty and fun in your exercise and your training 24/7, 365, and you are that person that you're always chasing the shiny object, the new, that I get bored easily. Do you do fun things in your free time? And what are you doing in your free time that isn't the gym? And here's why. If you are somebody that, hey, you go to work, you go to the gym, and then you go hiking, you go surfing, you go outside and you're wake surfing, you're skateboarding, I'm like listing all of like my hobbies, right? But it's like most people would be like, oh, like I stand up paddleboard, I go trail running, all of that stuff. I have a question. Like I said, if we're seeking that novelty and it has to be like 100% in our training and fitness, do you actually have hobbies, and what things do you do for fun?
Mm-hmm.
Because my guess is that if you're somebody that you are living a really big life and you have sports and hobbies and other things, and you also train and you also eat well, it's like it all goes hand in hand. Where, like I said, it's like if you were somebody that you just go to work, you go to the gym, and that's the end of your day. We need hobbies because again, it's like, I think that's going to fulfill some of that like novelty and fun quota. And don't get me wrong. It's like programming can be fun or it can be sucky. Like I've followed other bodybuilding programs that was like, man, this is like watching paint dry on the wall. Like this is still a little bit too much for me. Right. But it's like, you also have to find programming that encompasses movements and things that you like. So like somebody, for example, in our Paragon Facebook group, she was like, hey, I'm coming from a CrossFit background. I'm thinking about following the Strength Metcon program. But I know that, Brian Borstein that programs for us, he actually has his own program and it's very machine and cable heavy. Like it doesn't encompass dumbbells. It doesn't encompass barbells. And so she was like, yeah, I think I want to like follow his program. And I was like, sister, I'm gonna paint this real clear. Like you are going to be bored to tears if you're looking for, again, it's like if you're coming from CrossFit, you probably want something that's kind of more high intensity, that's fast and encompasses all the things that you love doing. Like, I think you're going to be bored to tears if you go follow this thing, right? So it's like, I think just making sure that the training you're doing lines up with things that you enjoy. Like if you don't enjoy running, probably don't do a program that encompasses a lot of like cardio and conditioning and stuff like that, right? It's like, how do we have equal parts in our training that's like what we need, which is progressive overload, a program that increases in difficulty over time. It's structured, it's periodized. Like again, we cycle through hypertrophy, we cycle through metabolic conditioning cycles, we cycle through strength. It's like it's periodized. There's a plan for the entire year. But equal parts, like, where's the fun quota? Because again, it's like if you're doing something you fucking hate, well, you're probably not going to stick with it and you're not going to do it. And if you asked me to go to a CrossFit class, I'd be like, politely, no. Like, I don't have space for that, right? Like,
yeah, I mean,
beyond those days.
And I think too, something, I mean, at least what I've done, at least personally, is just like, if I wanted to do something, I would just kind of add a little bit of it in. But like, what's your goal, right? Like, if you have a certain goal that you want to achieve, like your actions and how you train need to line up with that. And I think it's totally fine. Like, if you want to do a bunch of different stuff all the time, go do it. But like, recognize that, hey, like if you're then not seeing the result or some kind of result that you're aiming for, and it requires you to be a little bit more focused and intentional about your training, then you have to be okay with that, or look at the fact that like, hey, like maybe I do need to, sit here and do this training program more consistently and give it some time.
Right. Well, and it's like, there can be seasons of life that you just YOLO your fitness, or it's like if you're feeling super burnout, that's probably what you need to do is just literally go like do the shit you enjoy, do random workouts.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like that's the toughie we always run into with when we talk about modalities like CrossFit is it's like, CrossFit's fucking great. Like there are tons of gyms that run great programs, but equal parts, CrossFit is kind of this big overarching theme of like, well, you might go to a gym that doesn't have good programming, that doesn't prioritize rest days. You might go to a gym that like the more is better mentality is like the sauce at that gym, right? So it's like, if you're following CrossFit programming, that's okay. But again, it's like I've also been on the receiving end of I've gone to gyms where the programming, it's like, hey, we do have training cycles. It's very intentional. There were different training cycles and different goals and stuff like that. And so it's like, it's being very clear about like, hey, we don't have to be 100%. Like if you're like, I just want to look better, I want to lose weight. Well, yeah, like you don't have to be 100% dialed in. It doesn't have to be sucky and boring. But it's like, how do you find that balance of like, I'm in alignment with whatever my goal is, but equal parts, I'm enjoying myself along the way. It's like, you got to find that happy medium of like, okay, we do have to be dialed in. We can't just be willy-nilly about our training, but equal parts, like, how do you find that give and take? And I think it's also just like, giving grace isn't quite the right term, but it's like, it's being okay with understanding we don't need to be type A. And like, the more tightly we're like, oh, I'm focusing on this goal, well, that can get a little messy too. So it's like, what I'm thinking about specifically is in our Facebook group, somebody was like, hey, I'm thinking about swapping out this movement. Like, is it going to make me make less progress or less gains? And it's like, at the end of the day, just like do the work, right? It really is just like consistently do the work. If you have to swap out a movement, that's, maybe not the most ideal that it could be. That's not even the right word, because again, it's just like when we're talking about training is actually very forgiving. Like we just have to put in the reps and we have to put in the work, and our body doesn't know if we don't perfectly follow the programming. Our body literally knows the stimulus it receives, right? So it's like, how do we, again, it's like this messy middle of how do you shake out to like, I'm doing training that supports my goal, but equal parts I'm having fun, but equal parts, it's like there has to be some monotony in there. Like we can't, again, it's like we go back to finances. Well, however much effort we put into it is also like how much we get out of it. So it's hard because as people, we want it all and we want it all at once. And that's just not how it works.
I think a key thing with that is just taking data, right? Like just seeing truly like, are you progressing the way that you want to progress, right? Because if you are, what you're doing is fine, right? But if you're not, that should be a sign that, hey, like what about what I'm doing is not aligned with my goals. And if you can, if you're not progressing in your training, you're not getting stronger, you're not putting on muscle or anything like that, but you're sitting here like changing all things all the time, then maybe that's your sign to be like, hey, like let's buckle down and focus on one aspect and get really good at it or make some progress here. And then obviously test, right? Like if you do that and you have the data to support that, then that just shows like, hey, like I need to do some aspect of this. And then maybe you say, well, okay, well, I also need to enjoy my training. So what can I get away with? Right. And then again, it's just looking at that data and constantly evaluating, like, is what I'm doing supporting my long-term goals?
One biggie that I would love to throw in the pot for discussion and this is again something I 100% guilty of, but it's like I would evaluate workouts based off of how sweaty I am, how sore I
Yeah, how
am.
sore
If
was a
I'm
big one.
excessively sore, better
Yeah.
workout. Oh yeah. If I wasn't rolling around on the floor after a workout feeling dead or feeling, like if I didn't feel like I was dying during the workout, it wasn't a good workout. And man, like that ain't how it works.
Yeah, now a lot of people too, like they have all those fitness trackers, and it's like, or calorie counters on their watches, and they're like, well, I didn't burn that many calories, or I didn't get my heart rate in this zone or whatever. And I must have not have done a good workout.
I'm like, bless it, because we used to walk past Orange Theory every time at our place in Newport. We would have to walk past an Orange Theory to go get our coffee. And there's nothing wrong with Orange Theory. Again, like I'm a big fan of however you train, like be happy and love it. And as long as you love it and as long as it's getting you results, like who am I to judge how you work out? Like literally find a way to move that you enjoy, ride it into the sunset. But man, I would see their marketing. They'd always have like little signs outside, and it would be like talking about like the burn zone and where your heart rate should be. And it's like, we're getting people to kind of hyper focus on the wrong things. And it's not, like those can be pieces of data that we do that we take, right?
Yeah.
And we can use them. But equal parts, it's like, man, if you're just going to the gym and you are redlining every day and you are emptying the tank, and if you think about yourself as a car, right? If you are in that car and you're driving 195 miles per hour every single time you get in your car, well, think about what that does to the engine and what that does to the car over time, right? It's like you're going to run that car into the ground. Our bodies aren't that different. It's like, yes, we can go hard, but we don't need to go hard 24/7, 365. And it's this weird balance, right? Because it's like something Laura with Paragon and I talk about all the time is it's like, there's kind of two camps of people. And it's like, especially if you come from CrossFit and you're somebody like me, it's like, I can go do a squat set and I know exactly how to elicit meeting Jesus on every single set. Reversely, there's people that's like, yeah, I'm following this programming, but like, I don't know. I think I was that many reps in reserve and I don't know what my 1 rep max is. And I don't know, it felt hard. And it's like, I need these people to like physically come to the gym with me and I'll show you what hard is, right? Like, and you've experienced that training with me where it'd be like, why are you hip thrusting more than me? Like, fuck off, right? And so it's like, how do we get people to have a accurate and a correct understanding of truly what failure looks like and feels like? And so it's like, that's why we love having regular strength cycles in our periodization, is it is actually really helpful to know, hey, I maxed out. I emptied the tank. Like this is literally the max amount of weight that I can lift. But if you don't know those numbers, well, like, I don't know, it can be really easy to be like, oh yeah, that felt heavy. And then, it's like you go to test at the end of the cycle and you're like, fuck, I was sandbagging so hard. Like I've been hip thrust in 125 and then I realized, I can hip thrust like 275, right? So it's like, I think that's so helpful to have training regularly where you do max out. But even it's like we were talking about earlier, it's like, you can get caught in the trap. And I'm thinking of like 2020 us. It's like strength cycles would come around and we'd be like, fuck yeah, like, yeah, let's go, right? And then I'd be like back to hypertrophy and you'd be like, all right, whatever. But it's like lifting heavy is so fun, but also understanding it's like lifting at certain RPEs or reps from failure. It's like lifting super heavy doesn't necessarily effectively move the needle towards aesthetic goals. It doesn't necessarily move the needle towards strength goals and like trying to like increase in that way if it's not done the right way, right? So it's like, it's so important to understand the intensity that we're bringing to the workouts. But I think even if we talk about running, right, it's like, well, if I wanted to run a marathon, a lot of my training would actually be spent at kind of like that, I'm working at like 60, 70% effort. Like you're here a lot. And yeah, you do train at that 90 to 100%, like zone 5, I'm freaking dying. But it's like really a lot of your gains and a lot of your progress are made at that like RPE of like 7, 8. Again, it's like you're cruising and you're doing this monotonous, boring work over and over again.
Yeah.
Funny how that's a theme, right? But it's like so many people will be like, oh, I'm going to train for a marathon. And it's like, hi, I'm doing zone 3. Hi, I'm doing zone 4. And then you quickly like bump up your mileage and realize like, oh shit, I can't sustain that intensity. And so by default, you do end up back at kind of like that zone 2, more zone 3 stuff. And so same thing with training. It's just like, bro, like if you were like, yo, I want to go to Mr. Olympia, I want to be shredded. It's not about lifting as heavy as possible. Your sets are hard, but they're not necessarily, it's like that heavy word. It gets a little dicey because it's like, it's about that mind muscle connection. It's about your time under tension. It's about exhausting that muscle. But again, if you kind of compared like, oh, well, I did 3 sets of 10 at, I don't know, like 200 pounds. Well, yeah, that's hard. But if you're trying to move the needle towards aesthetics, it's like, well, what if you lifted way lighter? You had a lot of tempo on each squat. You pause at the bottom and you're still shaking. And yeah, you feel like you're dying, but it's kind of a different thing. I would love to hear because again, it's like you more so than me, you were like, fuck yeah, I love lifting heavy. I love feeling like a baddie. But it wasn't also serving your joints and your actual well-being.
I mean,
right?
I was going to ask you too, is like, what's kind of your, I don't know, litmus test of a good workout? Like what do you consider, like you went in the gym, yeah, I had a good workout. Like, what do you consider that?
So I've talked about this before, and this was kind of like a trial by fire, right? Like I had to learn the hard way. But for me, if I leave the gym and I'm experiencing brain fog, I don't have good mental clarity, I just literally feel like a zombie, like A plus B does not equal. Or let's say I went to sit down to work and like write a post, do whatever, film on camera after the gym. If everything is not clicking and not jiving, like I should leave the gym actually feeling really freaking good. Like I shouldn't be necessarily like skipping out of the gym, but it's like I'm sore in the appropriate places that I was trying to work. Hey, I definitely am a little fatigued feeling, but I shouldn't be feeling like I lit myself on fire during a workout, right? And so that really is like the mental clarity is such a good litmus test of, well, did we get systemic fatigue, aka did we exhaust my entire body? Or, oh, do we have localized fatigue, aka, hey, it was a leg day. So yeah, I burnt my legs to a crisp, but I'm a little sore. Okay, maybe I'm like wobbling down the stairs or something. But it's not, again, like the holy shit, I feel like I got hit by a bus
Right.
and now I'm not functional type of thing. That for me is the sauce. And that changed my entire game because, again, it's like, as somebody that knows how to lift heavy, and if there's one thing I know how to do, it's grind. So do you know how many like squat sets? Like when I first started working with Brian, it would be like, oh, 3 sets of 10 squats. And like, I would send a video and you would see like rep 9 or 10 would be like, like 20 seconds to like get from the top to bottom. And I would be like fucking burnt to a crisp. And he would just be like, hey, go less hard, like literally less weight, but like you shouldn't be having those reps, right?
And you can feel that like the next day, next couple of days, like if you went too much.
I can feel it when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Like literally, it's like that when you get that certain shakiness, especially on leg days, you're like, oh, I fucked up. we shouldn't be here. So let's flip that back on you. Is that something similar that you look for, or what's kind of your? Because I mean, you are older than me. Also, it's like I'm still kind of a little bit of a spring chick, and we both getting up there. But you do have a couple years on me. So does that change your answer?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I mean, I think that for me, a good quality workout is like, yeah, if I can put the effort in, and go to a failure point with that localized fatigue, but not like completely just wrecking myself. I've done that before. I mean, I was a competitive weightlifter, so I mean, I did that plenty. One thing I was really actually something that Brian said that's kind of stayed with me was he's really about like not training on sore muscles. And when I first started training, I I was like always chasing that. Like if I'm not sore, I didn't train hard enough. And if I was sore and training, like I would just train through that. And I would make sure like I would train through that. And so um what the logic is behind that is that if your muscles are sore, they're in the process of repairing and recovering, and you're not going to make the gains that you could make by training on them. They need the time to recover. And with me back in the day, man, I was just like, I don't care. Like I'm going to train anyways. And so now I've recognized that like, hey, like I don't need to make my body like super, super sore to make progress. And if I am sore, it's okay to like back off and let things recover. And I'm probably going to see more result if I do that. So I think that was like a really game changer for me.
I love that.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think a lot of people do that. I think if people chase that, they just want that. They want that soreness. Like I've had so many clients that be like, well, I'm not sore. I'm not doing anything. I'm like, but you are. Like, it's not about being super, super sore. And that's probably even counterproductive to your long-term goals.
And it's so hard, right? Because again, it's like there's all the spectrums of like some people do need to train harder, or especially if you're new, I think it's understanding one of the biggest things we see, and I experience this as well, it's like, let's say you're coming from CrossFit or you're coming from running or Orange Theory. You're going to be excessively sore the first few weeks if you start a new program and you're working muscles that you have never specifically like targeted and gone after. So I remember the first week of Brian's programming being like, bro, I can barely like sit down on the toilet. Like I feel like I need like a walker over here. And then sure enough, it's like it did get better after 2 or 3 weeks. And that's just that whole like
adaptation.
When we work things. Yeah, it's like when we work things, your body's also like, oh, okay, we're on the bus now. Okay, sorry, right? But same thing, it's like if you are excessively sore, also just keep in mind that if you go to the gym and get moving, sometimes you just need to get moving and you're totally fine once you get moving. So it's just like that happy medium of, again, how do we have people not sandbagging in the gym, but how do we have people have an understanding of like, okay, this is what it's like to max out, to redline, to empty the tank. And then how do we train at like 70 to 80% majority of the time? Like that was a huge one that I would throw in the bucket is when I was doing competitive CrossFit, when I was training for regionals, all this stuff, I did not understand the difference between training and competing. And my training partners, Ashley and Tino, would try to beat this into my head. And I was just a little shit. I mean, I'm still a little shit at almost 34, but it's like they were telling me and I just wasn't picking up what they were putting down. But like the difference, right, is like I was at a gym full of people way better than me. So of course I'm trying to keep up with them. I'm trying to like look good to the head coach and all this stuff. I was competing every day in training. And it's why I also ran my hormones into the ground. I ran my body into the ground. I ran my gut health into the, like everything was, because again, I was driving my car at 195 miles per hour rather than like, oh, like, okay, I don't have to go the speed limit, but maybe I go like 10 above the speed limit, right? It's the same thing. It's like training is, hey, I'm trying to get better. I'm putting in the reps. I'm putting in quality work. But also I'm trusting the damn process and I'm trusting my body to do what it came here to do, right? It's like, I think one of the bullet points when I like glanced through the list was like action without expectation. But truly, how many people go to the gym? It's like, okay, I want to lose weight. I want to look better. I want a 6-pack. And so they go to the gym every single day and it's like, I'm training so hard. My nutrition's dialed in. Why doesn't my body look like this person? Or why doesn't my body like look a certain kind of way? Or why am I not seeing the results? And it's like, yo, like there's a whole church sermon in there about like, we have to do the quality work. And then we have to just understand that the things we want, A, are probably going to take a little bit longer than we want. And that's fine. But B, shit takes time.
Yeah.
Like there is no hack. There is no hack. It takes time to build muscle. It takes time to, see those things. And so if you are going to the gym with that, hey, I'm going to work out. I'm going to the gym. I need to lose weight. it's a really different energy than like, hey, going to the gym. I really want to PR my squat. Hey, I really suck at like elevated split squats. So like I'm gonna figure this out. Like, how do I move? How do I need to be set up? Oh shit. Okay, now I'm feeling it in my hamstrings. Awesome. And same thing, just like going to the gym to enjoy
To enjoy
yourself
it.
in
Yeah, for
terms
the
of
mental aspect. Yeah.
moving
Yeah.
and yeah, just like again, it's like the gym ain't therapy. Therapy is therapy, but you know how great it feels to go rip a heavy ass deadlift if you had a bad day, or it's like it's all. This is why I love like nutrition and fitness. It's like there is no black and white. It's so much of it is like this gray, like okay, yes, but also, but keep this in mind, but asterisk. But truly, it's like the gym. How do we make the gym just like I've said this quote of like, let your cardio be fun, let your training sessions be fun. Like try to, again, it's like it is you versus you. If you've squatted 200 pounds, well, shit, man, what if you could squat 210? What if you could squat 220? It's a subtle change that makes just such a big difference because, again, when you're coming to the gym to enjoy yourself, to disconnect from whatever type of day you had, to just be present in the gym, and to push yourself. And again, for me, I'll say this till the day I die, the gym is self-development. And if I can grind hard in a workout, if I can grind hard and do things I never thought was possible, holy shit, does that transfer to everything else in my life, right? It's like I am the businesswoman I am. I am the leader I am. I am the person I am because of that self-development work I do in the gym of, damn, I don't want to go to the gym today. But you know what? I'm going to the gym today. And I go, right? Or, it's like there's so much self-development that happens at the gym in strength training. You're challenged mentally, you're
Yeah.
challenged physically, you're challenged emotionally. And that's why I'm so passionate about getting specifically women, but getting everybody to the gym. It's like it's the same thing. I wish that my mom would strength train. I wish that she would lift because it's like we want to age gracefully. Like you guys, like your mom is such a badass, and I love that. It's so cool to see her even in her 60s lifting heavier than I am. Like I'm still, Christmas will never leave me, with your family of literally doing dumbbell bench press, and she is out benching me, and I was just like, damn, Della's such a badass, right? But it's like the gym is self-development, and we are breaking our own ceilings. We're doing things we never thought possible. And so it's like, again, yeah, we can have aesthetic goals all day long. We can have, whatever body composition goals, all that stuff. But like I said, can we have more of our energy focused on kind of the performance side or the self-betterment side? Like that's the sauce, right?
I mean, I think again, it's like kind of goes back to all this stuff is like, I don't know, skills, and goes back to like values and priorities. And it takes time to recognize like what kinds of benefits these things give for you. And it takes time to recognize that like, hey, like this is actually like I started this process to try to lose weight or whatever, make myself, look better or whatever. But then I got so much more out of it. Right. And that's the part where I think too, like even looking back, we all like I got started because I was super overweight and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to lose all the weight. But it's like I kept going because of the value that I got from it and the benefits that I got from it. And I really think that that's something that a lot of people don't think about, that I want people to understand is that like, you got to give it enough time to really let that sink in and realize that like, oh, like this is actually now something that's truly adding a lot to my life. And if once at that point happens, like you're going to be stuck. And then this whole aspect of like struggling with consistency, like kind of goes away. I mean, at least in my experience, it has,
If I love all of that. So church, love that. If there was one thing that if I really like zoom out, the number one thing that strength training and lifting has given me is self-confidence. When I found CrossFit and when I found the barbell, and I was deep in my eating disorder. I was a little teeny tiny, 90 something pound LCK. I was so insecure. I was not confident in any way. And the transformation of, it's like present day. If you see me in the gym, it's like, again, if I need something in the gym, I will ask you for it. If you're like, again, if you're on a machine, you've been there for 20 something minutes, you're scrolling your phone. I don't care how jacked you are. I will walk up and be like, hey, can I work in with you? And then, go, right? Or same thing. It's like, if I'm doing stuff at the gym, people are probably intimidated by me because it's like this little tiny girl ripping heavy weights and just like so confident about being in there, taking up space. I remember it was exactly 3 months into CrossFit. And I remember the very first day that like back up. This is in Illinois. So like humidity central, it's fucking swamp. And here I am doing CrossFit. It's 100 plus degrees outside. So you're just like dripping, right? Like when you're so sweaty, you look like you took a shower, dripping. And I remember the first day and I was just like mid-workout and I was just so disgusted by like, I have this t-shirt that's like clinging to me. Like I need to take it off. And I remember being so nervous to just like take off my shirt and be working out in a sports bra. And that entire moment changed my life. And that was actually like the day I never went back to like working out with clothes on. Like I was always just in like sports bra and shorts, sports bra and leggings or whatever. But I was so self-conscious of my body. Like I remember at the time being like, oh my God, like people are going to be judging me. People are going to be looking at my body. Like I'm not fit. Like, it's like everybody at this gym was so shredded, so yoked. And I was still like so early to my journey. Right. And the reality is I realized, nobody is looking at me. Everybody is. And I think we can actually back this up into a different point. It's like so many people are so self-conscious in the gym of like, oh, people are watching me. People are judging me. People are, XYZ. And it's why I love sharing the video of me and Natalie Higby.
Oh, no, that was at the Golds, right? Yeah. Like jumping on the.
So
it's funny.
We are at Gold's Gym during prime hours.
We got to input this 5:30. Here.
Yeah. I'll get it. 5:30, 6 p.m. Like the gym is packed. And so we had a hex trap bar that we were doing deadlifts on, and the 45-pound plate was stuck on the end. And so literally, like I'm holding it. I try, it's like I tried to jump on it, plate doesn't budge. Natalie jumps on it. This plate doesn't budge. And I had my camera on because I was filming us like literally like just doing our deadlifts. And then I had never turned it off because we're like, oh, fuck, this plate is stuck. Not a soul in the background. Like you can see all the people. Not a soul looked at the fact that, like Natalie's like 5'9" or 5'10". She might even be 5'11". Like she makes me look like a little child, right? But it's like, full on like sprint and then jumping on this plate and not a single soul watched. And so it's like, I think again, like think about that. It's like, yeah, if you're doing something dumb in the gym, people might be watching. But for the most part, everybody else is so insecure and so focused on what they're doing. Most people have headphones in. Again, most people are trying to like disconnect from their day or maybe even work through things that happened in the day. Like people probably have their blinders on. And a lot of times if people are paying attention, those are actually also the people that like will come up and give a compliment or, it's like, that's actually when you get a lot of compliments where I'd be like, oh, like I always see you in the gym and like, you're always just working hard, like keep it up. Or like, I love being that person. Like I'm the person, it's like, if I see somebody in a gym that's just like hustling and every time I see them, it's like, it might be the third or fourth time I see it and I'll go up and just be like, hey, like, want to let you know it's super motivational or it's super awesome to see you like grinding. Like just know like we see you like you're working hard, right? So it's like people probably, some people might be, but people probably aren't paying as much attention to you as you're paying attention to you. And I think if we can get past that hurdle, because it's the same thing, man. It's like when Charlie and I work out, sometimes he'll do this and like now he's on board. But it's like, we're trying to get out of the way at the gym. Compound is busy. Like there's like 1,400, 1,500 members, right? Like the gym is busy. And so a lot of times he'll try to just like grab dumbbells and then like, oh, let's just like go in the corner. And I've self-corrected him a couple of times because I purposely make sure if I am strength training, if I'm lifting at the gym, you better believe that if there's a ton of dudes up in like the dumbbell section, your girl's going to plant herself front and center and I'm going to lift there. And the reason for that is because I want other women to see, hey, you belong here. Take up space here. You know, I want other women to be paying attention to the fact of, hey, I'm surrounded by a bunch of big old yoked dudes and your girl's still out here getting it, getting the fitness.
Mhm.
Even right now, you know, it's like I'm doing body weight stuff post-surgery. Like I still have another month before I'm at the gym. So, hey, I'm still taking up that bench or I'm still taking up whatever. I'm in my little arm sling at the gym and yeah, I'm doing body weight split squats or I'm doing, you know, heels elevated squats with like a 5 or 10 pound dumbbell. But you better believe I'm front and center because I want to inspire other women of, hey, go here, take up space, stop going in the corner to go do your little lifting stuff. It's like you belong here just as much as that guy out there benching 100-pound dumbbells. Like, it doesn't matter where you're at in your fitness journey because we've all been there.
Mhm.
Like, even if you are lifting 10-pound dumbbells
Everybody
and you're
started
doing
someplace.
RDLs,
Yeah.
put yourself front and center because, again, what the most experienced lifters are actually probably thinking if we see you and if we're paying attention is, damn, I love that this person's just out here getting it, right? It's like, that's the real big sauce about the gym is the gym is a place of self-betterment and everybody is there to improve themselves or, again, just to disconnect from their day. People love seeing people that are training hard, working hard, and getting after it. And so it's actually respect, right? Like people are here for you grinding, even if you are at the beginning of your journey. Like that is my favorite thing in the world at the gym is like seeing girls that are clearly just like little spring chickens in the gym, working hard and getting after it. Like, God, like that lights me up so hard. So truly, it's like if I could leave one nugget, if you're newer to your journey, you belong in the gym just as much as every strong, jack, yoked person in the gym. Take up that space, be confident with it. And again, it's like fake it till you make it. You ain't confident, you gotta figure it out real quick.
Yeah. And I
You know,
mean,
inserting yourself in that.
Also, too, just like stop caring so much about what other people may be thinking. And probably they're not thinking about that. That's probably you in your mind projecting on them what they may be thinking. And you're actually thinking about yourself. So you got to check your thinking and just stop worrying so much about what other people may be thinking. Yeah. I mean, do your thing.
Do your thing. Another really great bullet point I had on my list, and this is kind of a two-parter, but more time or days, you know, more time in the gym doesn't necessarily equal better or doesn't necessarily equal like more progress towards your goals because at the end of the day, you can only positively adapt. So gain muscle, lose fat, improve your body composition, improve your running time, your lifting, whatever it is. You can only positively adapt from what you can actually recover from. And so again, if there's one thing that like Paragon's changed my life about, I used to be terrified of rest days. I was the more is better crew. I was spending hours and hours at the gym, 6-7 days a week. And it's like how ironic it's been to like get in bed with the idea of like, wow, I train 4 days a week, maybe 5 days a week. Do a little bit of zone 2, a little bit of cardio, stuff like that. But I'm spending, you know, maybe half the time I was in the gym or a third of the time I was in the gym and I look better. I feel amazing, right? I don't feel like a walking dumpster fire anymore. That was a really hard pill to swallow because again, it's like you just assume, well, if I put in more time, more reps, I get more. And that's just not, it's not how the gym works. It's like, it's Goldilocks and the Three Bears is like my forever like fitness analogy, right? But it is, it's like, we need a certain amount of training, but we need good training and we need smart training. And then we get to ride into the sunset. That's a huge lesson I took way too long.
I think though there's an aspect though of, I mean, just being, enthusiastic, right? Like about like what you're doing. I mean, I'll just take myself for an example. Like I love jujitsu. I train jujitsu a lot, right? And I mean,
you and Charlie both.
Here's the thing is that like I train it because I love training it. But I will give you that point is that like, yeah, I train jujitsu a lot, but I don't gain as fast as I would correlate to how much I train. I train it because I'm enthusiastic and I love doing it. But Yeah, I mean, I bet I would actually get better result if I train smarter and as opposed to just trying to train all the time and more focused in my training. Like I'm literally listening to this and I'm like thinking about like I was there with lifting, and now I've switched. It's so funny. Like you can change the things that you're doing and be right back at where you were like 10 years ago. Like literally I'm back where I am with weightlifting. So like now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, I need to reflect on like my jujitsu training and like, I'm probably not going to be able to sustain training as much as I'm training. So I need to think about like training smarter, having better quality training rather than just like, yeah, let me hit the mat 3 times a day.
Willy-nilly. No, we bless Charlie. We just had like a come to Jesus talk because especially with all of my health stuff, like that's been so hard for him to navigate in terms of like staying on top of his fitness and getting to the gym and equal parts. I literally would have some days that just like, man, I'm struggling, right? And so what would happen with him is that it was like he would have an opportunity of like, oh, like Lori's health stuff is great today, or maybe I'm in surgery, right? So he just has like time to kill. And it'd be like, I went to the gym. Oh, it's sunny outside. So I went for like a 3 or 4 mile run and I'm gonna go to jujitsu. And then the next day it's just like, doosh, like it's smashed, right? And so it's like he would kind of oscillate between like doing the most and then doing the least because, again, just couldn't figure out his schedule. So we quite literally got a calendar that's like in our hallway. And so he could put, hey, okay, these are the days that I'm gonna run. I'm gonna run 2 times a week. Hey, these are the days that I'm going to strength train because same thing. He was running into an issue with, he has class from 8 to 2 in Newport, or it's actually like Santa Ana area, but same shit. So he has to get up at 5 a.m., take a 92-hour minute drive, go to class 8 to 2, and then eventually get home at some point. And so he couldn't figure out like kind of, okay, A, I'm underslept because I can't just like get my sleep quite in a row. But B, I'm trying to go to jujitsu. I'm trying to go to the gym, but I have homework, but also I got to drive and I got to commute. And oh shit, I forgot to feed myself. And so it was like quite literally at the beach. I was like, hey, why don't you kind of treat this like shift work where, hey, if you're going to class and you're driving, take those 2 as your rest days. Like we already know your sleep's going to be trash anyway. So what if those are for sure 2 rest days is Monday and Friday, Monday and Wednesday rest. So then, hey, that would leave you Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday to strength train. You can insert your 2 running days wherever you please. You're still getting rest days. And so like we literally had to make a calendar to commit because same thing. It was like, oh, I want to go to jujitsu. Like it's same shit. It's like if he could live every day and go to jujitsu, go running and strength training, he would do it. Yeah. And it's like he lived that life. And that's how when he met me, it was so life-changing to be like, oh, not gonna fucking burn my body into the ground. Like I'm gonna follow structured training. We're taking 3 to 4 rest days. Like holy shit, right? So it's like that would just be my suggestion also for you. Is it's like, can you protect you from yourself? And again, it's like I'm the same way. Like I just, hey, we're about to do a sick workout. You want to join? Hell yeah! Like I'm your ride or die girl. I don't care what I did that day. Oh, I ran a half marathon. Oh, you invite me to a cool workout? I'm down, right? It's like we're the same in that department. Yeah. So it's like what if you committed to a calendar schedule? I think that would probably help you too.
Well, we probably talked about all the things that we want to talk about. Yeah, with this one.
Changing your outside appearance won't generally solve how you feel about yourself, or at least in the long term. At some point, maybe it won't be good enough or you're still not happy. What truly makes us happy is when we're living in alignment with what we value and what's important to us. Do you want to expand on that a little? Because I know you've made a post about it. I was like, I've seen this before, but it's a good one. Because we tell people, right? It's like, yo, I can help you lose 10 or 20 pounds, but you might still look in the mirror and not feel any different. Like, yeah, you might be fitting in smaller clothes, but you still might not have a better relationship with yourself. You might still hate what you see in the mirror. So it's like, yeah, we got to do the internal. We got to do the work.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like you can get to a certain point where you look a certain way and then you think that, and in short term, it may actually make you feel better about yourself. Like it's definitely, even me personally, like, getting leaner and losing body fat, like definitely felt like good. But But then, starting to realize like, what am I missing out on? Because I have to look like this, and like the pressure that I placed on myself to try to look a certain way. And then, what I would have to do in my life, and like what I had to give up, or, all that kind of stuff in order to maintain that. It didn't really align with how I actually wanted to live. And so what's ironic about that, right? It's like you work towards something you think that's going to make you happier, and it actually makes you sadder. you know, like, and so that's what I think is like the main thing about that, is that there are things that are important to us in life. We have values and priorities and things that we want to make sure that are present in our lives. And all the stuff that we do for like health, fitness, nutrition, it all should add value to that, and it all should keep all that in our lives. And so in any point in time we're doing something that's taking away from those values and priorities, we're probably going to be not as fulfilled. And that's going to be a real huge disconnect. And that's where I think a lot of people struggle with like staying consistent and keeping with it, because there's just a massive disconnect between what they're doing versus how they actually want to live. So
yeah, it's like we see so many posts about that, right? And kind of the idea or the concept is, it's like, yeah, like maybe you love how you look, 4 or 5 pounds lighter, but are those 4 or 5 pounds the difference between you having date nights and having the energy to do the things you love and feeling really, really good in the gym, or all of that stuff, right? It's like helping people find that happy medium of, how do we get you to a body composition and a body that you feel good in, you can perform well in, but equal parts you can do the things you love, whether that's regular date nights with your significant other, being able to have a couple drinks, per week or month or whatever it is, being able to travel and just eat the foods of that culture or that place that you are, being able to enjoy, vacation and trips and all that stuff. It's like, the fun part about that is it's a moving target, and you're probably going to go through phases where maybe things are a little less dialed in. And I'm just living and loving life. I feel good. I feel great. And then it's totally okay also to have periods of your life that you're like, been drinking a little too much. It's impacting my mood, or it's impacting this and that. Like, I feel like shit. Like, I think I want to dial things in more. It's like, that's really when things get fun. And when you get started, you don't have that luxury, right? Like, when you get started, you just got to get started.
Yeah.
And you have to be making big changes to the way you're training and all that stuff. But it's like, if you can get to that place that kind of we live in now, where again, it's like, well, you were like 180 something pounds, and now you're a little bit leaner, but you've had time to be like, ooh, as fun as it is to have abs like this, or as fun as it is to look like this, I actually want to shake out somewhere in the middle. Like, I kind of miss doing stuff with Brianna, or I kind of, again, like the travel, the date nights, the just living life and having fun. And so being okay that that's a moving target kind of once you get to that place where we are, I think is huge, because again, it's like people don't realize, hey, I can feel really good at this body weight, or I can feel really good at this body weight, and it doesn't change how I feel. It's just, how do I want to feel right now, and what do I want to look like, like all that stuff. And being okay with that, and kind of being, like I said, it's just like different phases, slightly different priorities. It's going to give and take. Like, for people that aren't watching me on the microphone, I'm like shifting back and forth a little. But I think that's so huge.
I think a big important thing if I would go back to myself and tell or like give advice to myself, would be get some clarity about like what you want, and really get a really good, clear picture of like how you want to be living, how you want to be eating, training, all that kind of stuff, right? Get a real clear picture of that. And then another aspect of that is ask yourself, okay, why do I want these things? And what value and what importance do they have? Like, what are they going to bring? What benefit are they going to bring me? Right? if having a shredded up 6-pack abs is going to get me like more dates and like more confidence, and that's super important for me.
More
like,
dates, more weight.
Like it didn't, by the way, it did not.
No.
So it's like, but if something like that is super important to me, okay, then that's probably what's going to have to stay. Right. But for me, I didn't do this till later, was just to really understand like what's actually things that I enjoy, what's actually important to me. Like, hey, like I just want to be healthy. I want to feel good. I want to be able to do all the things that I enjoy doing, like train. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to experience things like that. Okay, once you have some clarity on that, then your actions can line up. And when we are aligned, or when our actions are aligned with our values and priorities, that is where we will feel the best about ourselves, regardless of whatever is on the outside, right? And I mean, of course, some aspect of what's on the outside will play into that. But again, it won't be this like, oh, I gotta look like this because that's the only way I'm gonna be happy. No, there will be a point where it's like you have all of that, and then that is where you are in terms of outside, and then how you're living your life.
Yep. I think that so much, especially what's coming to mind is like with tracking your food and stuff like that. I know this isn't like the nutrition episode, but it's like understanding that like sometimes to maintain the things you want or the things that you like need, I'll say need in air quotes, it requires just doing shit you don't want to do or you don't necessarily want to do, right? It's like, ain't nobody being like, oh, hell yeah, I want to pay my taxes. Well, same thing, it's like, I'm not every day being like, oh, hell yeah, I want to weigh my food. But to me, weighing and measuring my food is freedom because it affords me to look how I want to look. It affords me the opportunity to consistently feel how I want to feel. And therefore, I love tracking my food. It's great because it's just something that I do that gives me the results that I want.
And they align with your values. For. Yeah. Like you value, looking a certain way and feeling a certain way.
Being shreddy, Freddy.
Like it's important to you, right? It's important for probably your mental health and all that kind of stuff. And you've recognized that. And that's why like doing something even like tracking, like maybe you don't want to do it, but you do it because it aligns and you recognize that. And it probably took you some time to recognize that. So yeah.
Oh yeah. I want to leave with one last bullet point and one last invitation to church. And that would be, everybody listening to this could follow the same exact training plan. They could eat the same exact, nutritional guidance way, whatever that is. Everybody could be eating and training the same exact way, and every single person would still look dramatically different. So many people follow somebody on social media, they subscribe to their programming, I'll be like, yo, this person is so yoked, I want to look just like them, or oh, I want to look just like LCK. And it's like, at the end of the day, we're all starting from a completely different place. We have completely different histories and backgrounds in terms of if you were an athlete your whole life versus, oh, in college, I found strength training. Those are two totally different starting points, right? But same thing, like what is that person's nutritional background versus, your nutritional background? We just got to put in the quality work and then be happy with whatever results we get and just be okay with our body, right? Like, again, so many people follow a training program being like, yo, I'm going to follow this program. It's going to make me look a certain way. And it's like, your body is going to respond to the inputs that you give it. So you got to just be grateful for what you get. And again, it's like, it's a shift of, well, yeah, it's okay to chase a better aesthetic. It's okay to chase better body composition, but understand that, again, you have control over how you look, but you also don't have a lot of control. Like it goes both ways. So you got to just be okay and come to peace and come to terms with loving whatever body shows up as a result of the quality inputs you are making in terms of your nutrition, your fitness, going to bed at night, all of your habits, all of your things. You have to just love whatever body you get as a result of the quality inputs and let it be enough and be okay with that. I think that's such a great point to end the podcast on because, again, that's something that I've struggled with for so long. I would see people on social media and be like, oh, inspo, I just want to look just like them. Or like, I remember the days of like Pinterest and like Live Journal, Dead Journal, where I'd be like, yo, I want to look just like this person. Like they're so amazing.
Hashtag body
and then
goals.
Realizing, literally hashtag body goals. And then realizing, yo, I'm genetically not built like this person. I'm not coming from the same background as them, but like no matter how hard I try, I'm not gonna look like this person. I'm gonna look like me, and I'm gonna look like a different version of me over time. But I might not ever get that look. Or again, like we talked about, like when we did the ab episode, it was like, I don't have the sticky outy abs. I don't have the turtle shell abs. Like I got like the sick, like oblique and side abs. And then, just, it just ain't it. Right. So I think there's like, again, it's like, there's so much to that, but shoot, man, like it really quality inputs, be okay with what you get.
Yeah. People just get caught in the comparison. And, I think it's normal and human to compare. I do it all the time, but I think you got to look at it. If you are comparing, you gotta zoom out a little bit and like kind of how you're saying is look at the situation, the circumstances. Like if you are a 36-year-old single mom, has 3 kids, and then you're comparing yourself to a 22-year-old, like full-time athlete that has nothing to do but just sit her ass in the gym and do thrusters, like that's not the same. It's not the same. So yeah, I mean, I think it's human to compare, but you got to be aware of those differences. And honestly, like I love asking myself, it's like, can I whoop my own ass like 5 years ago, right? Like, am I better than I was before? That is the only comparison that really, I think, matters the most. Like, are you better than you were a few years ago or whatever in the past?
And this is probably a good reminder. I meant to make this post forever, so this might actually be the one that like reminds me to do it. I'm going to make a mental note, but I want to make a video where it's like I just record it on my iPhone and then record that same exact thing. Let's say I'm like squatting, hip thrusting, whatever, with actually like the R6 Mark II Pro, like the big fancy camera with a color grade. Because again, it's like so many people, it's not that we're trying to deceive you, but like quite literally when you're filming with, I don't even know how many megapixels are on a camera these days, but like let's say it's 20, but then my camera is 40, 45, 50, like you best believe I'm gonna look more jacked on that. But same thing, it's like be careful about comparing how you look to somebody that's in a gym with really good lighting. Because again, like California gets it. California understands the assignment of you're going to have good body days when you walk in our doors because the lighting is perfect. It's like the drop lighting where you just look shredded even on like your worst day, right? Whether it's Infinite training systems.
Oh yeah, whatever that place is in Newport, man. I was like, what? Who is this person?
Well, and same thing at Compound. You're just like, I look good, right? And so just understand that, well, these videos that people are posting to social media, they're probably with fancy cameras. Again, they probably color graded it to make it look nice. The same thing, it's like how many people these days, they're taking their iPhone, they're dropping the exposure so everything looks super dark, super shadowed. Like just again, be cognizant that we're not trying to deceive you. We're just shooting with different stuff. So if you were in here too, you'd probably look a certain kind of way versus that, right? So just be cognizant of what you're seeing on social media, how that person looks in real life. They're probably, they're probably a little bit different things.
I wonder if they could start a movement, like just show up, like shoot the real shit. Like no touching up, no filter, no light, like just what everybody looks like, just normal. Because you can go to the gym and you see like, oh, this person in real life, this is what, whatever. But man, like that's the stuff that kills me, man. Just like seeing all the stuff online and you're like, man, like how do I look like that guy? And then you may see them in person and they're like, they look good, but they don't look that good. It's like you did some stuff, and I'm like, can we just be real like anymore? I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway,
that's why like I don't fucks with the angles on a lot of stuff. Like obviously, like if I film stuff, like I don't want the camera up my booty hole. So like Nick knows, right? It's like, yo, can you just film from the side or for like anything but that? Like I'm not here for the thirst trap stuff, but. Yeah, it's like that what you just talked about, we could make an entire episode about that because it's like, especially at places like Infinite or the Compound, there's so many people with big social media followings and like they know how to like
angles.
Move the body, the angles. And it's just like, yo, like as somebody like with an ass because I've trained hard, like I actually will make myself look like I don't have an ass if I were to contort my body in that way, right? So it's a jungle out there in terms of like clothing and knowing the right angles and all of that stuff. It's the jungle. But on that note, we said we were going to keep this episode short and sweet and to the point. So as always, thank y'all for tuning in. We would love to hear, what was there anything today that really just like took you to church, really hit home, hit you some feels? And again, I would just say if there was anything that was said today that you felt very triggered or maybe offended by, what a good opportunity to get curious and see why that was or why that elicited certain feelings. Because usually, again, as somebody that's been on social media for a while, if we're feeling a certain kind of way about something, it's usually a you issue and maybe not necessarily like what got said. So like I said, it might be a good opportunity to get curious if you're feeling a little spicy, a little chili emoji about something.
Before you send that DM, that hate DM, like just think about it. Let it marinate a little bit before you send that hate DM. Yeah.
Look internally a little. Because again, a lot of times the stuff that we need to hear the most is the stuff that's the hardest to hear. Or again, it's stuff that maybe it didn't feel nice. It didn't feel like a warm, cuddly hug. But it was something that we did that we needed to feel or needed to, kind of do a little deep diving on. But thank y'all so much for tuning in. We are going to do a part 2 episode to this one that's basically going to be more nutrition heavy and food heavy and the things we wish that we learned about food. So with that being said, we will check you later.
Peace.